Elena arrived at the cafe a few minutes early, clutching her notebook like a shield. The warm light spilling from the large windows made the polished wooden floor gleam, and the soft hum of conversations created a cocoon of life she wasn't used to. Her fingers trembled slightly as she smoothed the folds of her simple dress, aware of the elegant patrons sipping lattes and discussing business deals in low, confident tones. She felt painfully out of place, a small-town teacher among a crowd that seemed to belong to a different universe. She slid into a corner booth, her back pressed against the wall as if it could protect her from judgment. Her notebook lay open, filled with lesson plans and sketches from her students. She absently doodled a tiny sun in the margin, trying to focus on something familiar, something grounding. The waitstaff moved gracefully around her, and she couldn't help but notice the subtle sparkle of chandeliers reflecting off wine glasses, the delicate pastries arranged like little works of art. A flutter of nerves made her whisper to herself, "I don't belong here." She forced a smile at a couple nearby who glanced her way, and her stomach tightened with embarrassment. Elena reminded herself that her friend had insisted this blind date was harmless, just a chance to meet someone new, but the thought of being judged, of appearing inadequate, made her chest ache. Her eyes wandered to the entrance, watching as people came and went. Then she saw him. A tall man with an easy confidence, moving through the cafe as if he owned none of it but belonged everywhere. His tailored suit and polished shoes contrasted sharply with her worn flats and simple dress, and for a moment, Elena felt like a shadow among the light. Yet something in his relaxed demeanor softened her apprehension. He scanned the room until his eyes met hers, and he offered a warm, reassuring smile that made her heart skip a beat. Taking a deep breath, she straightened in her seat, trying to gather courage. The nervous knot in her stomach didn't ease, but the moment felt significant, like the start of a story she hadn't known she was about to live. She picked up her pen, pretending to jot notes, while silently hoping she could find her voice when he approached. Adrian approached the booth with a calm, confident stride, yet there was a gentle warmth in his eyes that immediately put Elena slightly at ease. "Elena?" he asked, his voice smooth, carrying a mix of curiosity and kindness. She nodded, her throat dry, managing only a small, nervous smile. "Hi, I'm Adrian," he said, sliding into the seat across from her. He placed his sleek leather briefcase on the floor beside him, not as a barrier but as if it belonged there, casually, like it didn't define him. Elena noticed the contrast between his polished appearance and her simple dress, and a familiar pang of self-consciousness fluttered in her chest. Yet there was no hint of judgment in his gaze, only genuine interest. "I hope you didn't have trouble finding the place," he continued, his tone light and reassuring. Elena shook her head. "No, it was fine. I mean, yes, I was a little nervous," she admitted, surprised at how honest she sounded. Adrian chuckled softly, the sound disarming, like a small invitation to relax. They began with small talk. The weather, the cafe, the city around them, but slowly, the conversation deepened. Elena found herself sharing details about her work at the local school, the challenges of teaching underfunded classes, the joy of seeing a child understand something for the first time, the subtle triumphs that never made the headlines. Adrian listened intently, leaning slightly forward, his eyes reflecting both respect and genuine curiosity. "You have a remarkable job," he said, thoughtfully. "It must be exhausting sometimes, but also incredibly rewarding." Elena's surprise at his sincerity made her laugh softly, a sound that felt lighter than it had in weeks. "Yes, exhausting, definitely. But rewarding? Yes, that's exactly it," she said. For the first time that evening, she felt seen not as a simple teacher or a small-town girl, but as someone whose work and heart mattered. Adrian shared stories too, though less about business and more about experiences that revealed his own character. Moments of vulnerability, times he had learned lessons the hard way, and small joys he cherished. Elena found herself genuinely intrigued, laughing at his dry humor, nodding at his reflections. The initial awkwardness that had weighed heavily on her shoulders began to melt, replaced by a surprising sense of connection. As the waiter brought over their desserts, a delicate slice of chocolate torte for Adrian and a modest slice of apple pie for Elena, the conversation naturally shifted from polite stories to more personal reflections. Elena found herself opening up about the moments that shaped her life, the struggles of her childhood, the sacrifices she had made to pursue her passion for teaching, and the quiet dreams she had long tucked away. Adrian listened attentively, his gaze steady and encouraging, never interrupting, always allowing her words to settle between them. "You've had quite the journey," he said softly, his voice carrying admiration rather than pity. "I can see why you care so deeply about your students. You've had to fight for so much yourself." Alina's heart warmed at his words. For so long, she had felt invisible, overlooked, and now here was someone who acknowledged not just her work but her resilience. Feeling a little braver, Elena asked about him. Adrian hesitated briefly before sharing glimpses of his own life. The pressures of leading a company, the loneliness that often accompanied success, and the rare moments that reminded him why he continued striving. It wasn't a boastful account of wealth or power, but a candid glimpse into the human being behind the polished exterior. Elena realized that beneath the tailored suits and luxury, Adrian was thoughtful, introspective, and, in many ways, searching for the same connection she had been longing for. A sudden laugh from Adrian, sparked by a playful comment Elena made her cheeks warm. She hadn't realized how much she had needed this, a conversation where she could be herself, where her words mattered, and her presence was appreciated. The nervous tension that had shadowed her since arriving had almost completely faded. They joked about minor embarrassments from past dates, shared anecdotes from their daily lives, and discovered small commonalities: a love for old books, a weakness for chocolate, a habit of talking to pets as if they understood every word. By the time their coffee arrived, the cafe had begun to thin out. The soft hum of background music mingled with the occasional clink of cups, creating a cozy, almost private world around their small table. Elena sat back, a contented sigh escaping her lips, feeling lighter than she had in months. Adrian looked at her thoughtfully, his eyes reflecting a mix of admiration and genuine warmth. "You know," he said softly, leaning slightly forward, "most people think success is about money, titles, or power. But from what I can see tonight, that's not what really matters." Elena blinked, caught off guard. "What do you mean?" she asked, curiosity piqued. Adrian smiled faintly. "I mean that the richness of life comes from people like you, those who care, who give without expecting, who make the world better just by being in it." Elena felt a rush of emotions: surprise, disbelief, and slowly, a profound sense of relief. She had spent so long feeling out of place, doubting herself in the shadow of wealth and privilege, yet here was someone whose words made her feel seen, appreciated, and accepted. The walls she had built around her insecurities began to crumble. Adrian continued, his voice gentle but earnest. "It's rare to meet someone whose heart guides them as clearly as yours does. You teach, you nurture, you inspire, and that's more valuable than any business deal or luxury car." Elena's eyes glistened, and she struggled to form words that could adequately express her gratitude. I don't know what to say," she murmured. "I've always thought I was ordinary. That I didn't belong in spaces like this." "You belong wherever you choose to be," he replied with certainty. "Not because of status, not because of wealth, but because of who you are. And who you are is extraordinary." His words sank deep, resonating with truths she had long tried to ignore. A quiet, blissful silence settled between them, punctuated only by soft laughter and the distant hum of the cafe. In that moment, Elena realized that the blind date she had approached with anxiety and doubt had turned into a revelation. She didn't need to fit into someone else's world to be worthy. Her value was intrinsic, recognized by someone who genuinely saw her. The evening ended with a sense of promise, not of instant perfection or fairy tale magic, but of connection, understanding, and the subtle thrill of being truly known. For Elena, it was the beginning of a new chapter, one where she could finally feel at home in her own heart.